Oh, hello there! I'm Professor Joel, and welcome to another episode of Planet Scooby Reviews. You just caught me pretending I was in a wax museum, which is entirely coincidental because this episode of Planet Scooby Reviews takes place in a wax museum. This episode is called Waxworld, and it originally aired on December 20th, 1980. So be forewarned, this is the Scrappy years. I know a lot of you aren't Scrappy fans, but bear with me. This episode contains some pretty cool Scooby-Doo Where Are You Easter eggs. And you have to consider too, without Scrappy, Scooby might not be a thing anymore. Scooby-Doo was about to be cancelled in the 80s, and they needed to freshen things up. So in 1979, they introduced Scrappy-Doo, and Scooby-Doo got a second wind. So without Scrappy, we might not have ever gotten the really cool episodes and movies we have now, like Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island, Scooby-Doo and the Witch's Ghost, Be Cool Scooby-Doo, Mystery Inc., etc., etc. Anyway, this episode also is a parody of a classic Vincent Price movie called House of Wax, so it's kind of cool. But enough of my blabbering, let's get on with the episode.
Send them out in the streets to tell their friends how wonderful it is to be scared to death.
Scooby and Shaggy are enjoying some fish and chips in London, England when an honest mishap causes Shaggy to drop his money. As his coin rolls away, Scrappy chases it into a nearby basement. Shaggy and Scooby enter the building from an open window above and land in the hands of Frankenstein's monster and the Wolfman. Fortunately, the monsters turn out to be fake, yet familiar, as we get the zombie from Which Witch is Which, as well as the mummy from Scooby-Doo and a Mummy 2. Shaggy kicks the vampire dummy to show Scooby that there's nothing to fear and that it's just a wax dummy. Scooby then gives it a kick. However, when they walk away, the vampire dummy opens his eyes and proclaims, "The perfect new exhibit for my wax world." Now this villain may not be a vampire, but he's got fangs, so I'm just saying he's a vampire. When they try to leave the wax world, a metal gate is dropped, preventing them from going out the door. The vampire emerges and proclaims that they soon will all be on display.
Soon you will be on display.
Scrappy tries to put up a fight, but Scooby and Shaggy smartly grab him and run away.
There is no way out.
There's no way out.
The gang disguise themselves as Indians and then gangsters, temporarily fooling the vampire each time until Scrappy gives them away, as Scrappy wants to fight the vampire. Finally, they hide in the vampire's wax lab, where the vampire invites them to see his process firsthand.
Aha!
On a conveyor belt, the gang are destined to end up as wax figures as they approach a boiling vat of wax. Scrappy invades the vampire's attempt to dip them in wax and instead sends the vampire into the vat, where he now becomes the museum's main attraction. You'd think being dipped in boiling wax would kill the vampire, but because this is a kid's show, you see his eyes move behind the wax, and Shaggy says, "This ought to hold him until we get far away from here."
Like that should hold him till we get away?
Anyway, my thoughts on Waxworld. It's another fun Scrappy episode. This episode has a cool setting with the wax world, and we get to see lots of nifty wax monsters. I love just kind of seeing the zombie from Which Witch is Which and the mummy from Scooby-Doo and a Mummy 2. The main villain oozes Vincent Price, and things fly by pretty fast, so the episode's over pretty quick. You know, I'd rather watch a classic Scrappy-free episode. As far as cartoons go, I'd give this a 6 out of 10. However, Shaggy says it best when he says,
But it doesn't hold a candle to the real thing, eh, Scoob?
which in my mind means this does not hold a candle to the real Scooby-Doo Where Are You classic episodes. If you'd like to buy this episode, it's on the Richie Rich and Scooby-Doo Show DVD. I'll leave a link below. And as always, if you like this episode, be sure to subscribe and like. It really helps me out. It helps me kind of figure out what people want to watch. Until next week, stay spooky.
Imagine, if you will, an exhibit in fear.
It looks a little spooky, boys. You think we should do this?
A place that appeals to your deepest and darkest fantasies.
Ooh, scary.